Hello, class. This week we are going to be working on groundwater and surface water interactions. So you should have this kit in your materials that you received. If you do not, please let me know. All right, so in here you get the overview of the particular lab, the outcomes, the time that it takes. We will be working on all three activities, so it should take you about a couple of hours to complete all of the material. Our PPE for this week are your goggles or safety glasses, your gloves, and your apron. There's these symbols: warning, corrosion, flammable, toxic, environment, and health hazard. You want to make sure that you take pictures of your results and submit it with your lab reports. You will need a stopwatch, so you can use your phone stopwatch or if you have a stopwatch. And okay, follow link to videos. So there are videos in here for you. I think it's with the cleanup, the same as we've seen before. All right, so here's the background information. So this information you would summarize and put that in your introduction, okay? All of this background information, all right? And then our materials, all right? So you should have your block of clay and you should have a bag of sand. Take it out of here because you can see it. Ooh, my sand is falling out of my bag. So be careful with the sand and maybe coming out of your bag. Okay, put it back in the big bag. All right, so that's your sand. You should have a bag of gravel. Okay, it may not be brown, it may be gray. I think I got one bag that was brown, one bag that was gray. As long as it's gravel, you're good. And then you have your plastic cups. All right. And then you have a plastic container. Looks like this. Okay, it does have a lid on it. Okay. You should have a pack of Kool-Aid. Now, my Kool-Aid came in a pack like this that has all these kinds of things in it. Yours may be similar. Okay. This is your pack of Kool-Aid. All right, this is for the experiment. Do not make this and drink this. Okay. All right, so then you have your rubber tubing. Okay, so you have pieces of rubber, two pieces of rubber tubing. And then you would have um, two plastic tubes. They look like this. Okay, hopefully you can see what I'm seeing, what I think you're seeing. You should have three straws. They should be wrapped up in the paper. All right, and then you should have a syringe. Okay, and then you should have a disposable pipette and a foam cup. All right, so that should be all of your supplies. Very important. This important note I do want to mention here. Items will be reused. Do not throw anything away between activities. You will rinse items such as sand and gravel over a plastic bowl and container. Place in a sink to separate the materials from each other. The bowl will prevent any excess material from clogging the sink, and you'll rinse the syringe and aquarium tubing between activities and reuse them. You will also use the clay and Kool-Aid drink mix for multiple activities, so be sure to save these materials. Very important because you are doing all three activities. Safety. Read all instructions for each laboratory activity before beginning the investigation. Follow the instructions closely and observe established laboratory safety practices, including the use of appropriate personal protection equipment. Do not eat, drink, or chew gum while performing these activities. Wash your hands with soap and water before and after performing each activity. Clean the work area with soap and water after completing the investigation. Keep pets and children away from laboratory material and equipment. Okay. The clay may stain your clothing and hands, so be sure to use care and wash your hands thoroughly after handling these items. In particular, you may wish to wear gloves and a lab apron when handling the clay. Okay, so with the clay, you may want to wear some gloves. So you should have gotten gloves with your kit. If not, any kind of plastic gloves, rubber gloves will work fine. Okay. Disposable gloves. All right. So you want to read through the activities, obtain all required materials for the experiment, find a large open table to serve as your work area, clean the work area, have a trash can and an accessible sink nearby. Okay. For this particular experiment, you are going to be setting up different setup activities to represent different water cycles. Okay, so you do need a lot of area to work with. You want to make sure that you have plenty of space to pour in your water because you're going to simulate rain, and it's a really fun activity. But you want to make sure that you have a nice wide open space to perform the activity. What I want to go through for each activity is these green boxes so that I can give you an overview of what you're doing for each activity. Okay, there are pictures here to show you how to set up, and the instructions are very self-explanatory, so I'm not going to go through the instructions. They're quite detailed. But if you have questions as you're performing this lab, please let me know, okay? But it does have really good pictures for you. All right, so I want to go through for each activity. I want to go through what's in the green box. So, activity one, this is high withdrawal and recharge. In this activity, you will learn the importance of the water cycle and how withdrawal and recharge are two processes that continuously affect the environment but are not always in a balanced state. You will create a model where a drinking water reservoir and a layer of sand with groundwater wells within it will be separated from each other by an impermeable layer. To help you understand the interconnectedness of the two water systems, you will determine different rates of withdrawal and recharge. Okay. And so for this one, this is going to be your setup. So you'll have your container. Okay. This is your container that is shown here, and you have your clay bar, which is going to separate. See if I can show you like this. All right, so your clay bar is going to separate the aquifer area and the reservoir area. And it says in the instructions that you are going to stretch your clay bar so that you can touch both ends of the of your container, and you want to make sure that it's pressed down so that it touches not only the sides but the bottom, because you want to completely separate your reservoir from your aquifer. Your clay bar is going to serve as your retaining wall. Okay, and so read through the instructions completely before doing the experiment. So read through them, kind of visualize what you're doing, and then read back through them and do the step-by-step process. And that will help you so that you know what's to come. Okay. Then we get to activity two, which is your point source pollution. For this activity, you will create a model of a point source pollution. A large industrial plant is disposing of its waste materials through a discharge pipe into a drinking water reservoir. You will see how these pollutants play a role within the water cycle, and if an impermeable layer has an effect in blocking contamination of the groundwater, okay? And so if the water in the reservoir from activity one has a large amount of sand in it, pour it into a bowl and remove any excess sand from the reservoir, okay? And so you are going to be using the setup here. So this water, if it has sand in it, you want to remove that water in the sand so that you can have just fresh water in that reservoir, okay? So that's what that is saying right here. So very important that this setup that you keep from activity one, don't take it apart because you're going to use it for activity two, okay? So make sure again that you read through the instructions first and then read through it again as you're doing the activity. You want to get a clear understanding. And then activity three, in this activity, this is the non-point source pollution. So in this activity, you will see the effects on drinking water in two locations. A house on a hill where drinking water comes from a well confined under an impermeable layer. Excuse me. A house located downhill by a pond where drinking water comes from a well in a permeable layer. All the land between the two houses is fertilized each year, and both homeowners want to know the effects that this potential pollutant, the fertilizer, has on their water source in the event of runoff from rain. Okay. And so these figures show you how to set up your activity for this one. Okay. And so in this case, you are going to change your setup. So it says to take the bar from the previous activity and flatten it as much as possible. Make approximately 6 by 6 centimeters square. And then you're going to look at all the other parts. Make sure that you read through all the steps before you start setting up your new activity. Okay. Now, disposal and cleanup, you're going to discard the activity components in the trash can and sanitize the workspace. Okay? Pretty straightforward for your cleanup. Very important. You need to write down your observations for all three activities. Be very detailed with your observations. Okay? All right, so we're going to go through now. Okay, so that was the updated instructions. Now we want to go through the data sheet. All right. I think I don't. Nope, I guess I didn't. All right, so we want to download this just so that I can bring it up so that you can see it clearly. All right. It still says week four, ignore that. Okay, but I do want to go over that. So let me make that a touch. Ooh, not that big. Get excited. Okay. All right, so this is the introduction. This is how you're going to set up your lab report. Very important. So the introduction, I told you that that background information on the instructions, that's what's going to go here. Remember, you're putting that in paragraph form in your own words. The materials, remember, that's in paragraph form as well, what materials you used. You're going to explain what you're going to do for the procedure. For the procedure, since you're doing three activities, you want to separate your procedure for each activity. So you would say activity one, you would write out your procedure. Activity two, write it out. Activity three, write it out. Very important. Your observations, that's where that information would go. So if you had any data tables or anything like that, all of your observations you would put here. And you want to separate your observations by the activity number. So you should have three sections for your observations. And then your discussion. So you want to answer these questions for your discussion. Remember, you're not writing the questions out and then answering them. You're going to put your answers to the activities in paragraph form. Okay, so in activity one, you would answer the questions based on that. In activity two, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so for each activity, you want a paragraph, so you can title it discussion, then activity one, and then you would write your paragraph answering the questions. Activity two, paragraph answering these questions. Activity three, paragraph answering these questions. Very important. Then the last thing, your references. So the references would be the instruction sheet that you retrieved. Any other information that you used, you would want to make sure that you reference that. Okay? If you have any questions for this particular lab, any questions, then please let me know. Okay? Please let me know if you have questions. Otherwise, enjoy the lab.